Hello everyone, presented here virtually. I am Preeti here and I welcome you all for today's session, which is titled as Virtue of Research and Process with Effective IT Literature Review. And presenting this session, we have with us our today expert, Dr. Seema Singh. Dr. Seema Singh is an associate professor in Management College and associate NCC officer. She has been awarded Best Teacher Award on Teacher Day, 5th September 2021 by CCS University and Best Academician and Social Worker by Brijbhoomi Foundation, Agra. She has presented many papers at national and international conferences. Without wasting much time, I am welcome to Dr. Seema Singh. Ma'am, now you start, ma'am.
Very good afternoon to all. And today, this session is going to help the researchers who is new in this field. And today, my topic is virtues of research. The goal of this workshop is to help you understand the basics of research and to help you understand the process, research design, and methodology. Because the purpose is to tell you what is the research, and it is going to help you to understand the purpose and basic requirements of an effective literature review also. And it is also helping you to critically assess the research materials to develop the strategies for inventing, organizing, and drafting a literature review. So first of all, we will discuss about the basics of research. So we should know what is research. Research is a process to discover new knowledge to find answers to a question, because the word research has two parts, like re and search. Re means again and search is find, which denote that we are taking up an activity to look into an aspect once again, or we want to look for some new information about something, because research is what? Research is a continuous process. And according to Creswell, is saying that research is a systematic investigation to establish the facts, because facts should be come out, because the peoples, those who are conducting the research, devoting a lot of time to conduct a good research. So they should know what are the research, what is actually the research is. So research is a structured inquiry that utilizes acceptable scientific methodology to solve the problems and create new knowledge that is generally applicable. So research is a continuous activity in majority of disciplines and professions. And in fact, you can see that research is a subconscious activity that we are involved in at all times, whether it is purchase or daily use articles, a car, and electronic goods, or planning a holiday, means something like that, means whatever, research is involved everywhere. And what is the research and what is its purpose? Because the research has been defined by the many authors in the various ways. But the main objective is research is a process to discover the new knowledge, to find the answers to a question actually, because whenever we are conducting the research, we are having a problem. We are doing the research for a problem. So research is a process to discover a new knowledge, to find answers to a question. The questions came in mind. Okay, what is actually the research is. So Clifford Woody is saying research comprises of defining and redefining the problems and formulating the hypothesis or suggested solutions, collecting, organizing, and evaluating the data, making deductions, and reaching the conclusions. So it is a systematic process to determine whether they fit the formulating the hypothesis. So research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze the information to increase our understanding of a topic or issues. So it consists many steps, but we can see that three more important steps. You can see that pose a questions means for a research we have to put a question. Data collection is the second step that is very important, and the present and answer to the question. What the question is for the research, that should be answered in a proper way so that it could help the researcher. And what should be the objective of research? If the peoples are conducting a research, there should be some objective, and objective should be very clear. It should be, I could define it or elaborate it in a single word. You can see that is a smart. A smart work is always presentable. And when you are conducting a research, it should be a smart work. Smart means S is indicating a very specific, means whatever the problem you are going to discuss or identify, you are going to solve and you are going to discuss in your research, that should be a very specific and defined. Specific and defined means it should be very much clear. Yes, what I am going to conduct, because if there will be a many questions, then it creates a problem or it creates a confusion. But it should be very specific, then there will not be any kind of confusion. So this smart word is indicating the proper research, and it should be a very, very specific, and it should be measurable. Obviously, if we are conducting a research, so it should be measurable, and it should be achievable, and it should be relevant. Relevant means yes, whatever the question and the problem we have taken, whether it is relevant with that problem or not, means whatever we are going to find it out, whatever the conclusion we are going to draw on it, that is relevant or not. And yes, the main important thing is it should be a time bound. Time is very, very, very important when we are conducting a research. And the main objective is we should not elaborate our research too long. It should be very specific, very much precise, and it should be a time bound, because time is one major factor that is going to help you to give a best result of your research. And another objective, you can say that that starts with few words. It should be determined, it should be find it out, it should be ascertain, and it should be measurable, it should be explorable. Means in future we will discuss what different types of researches are there. So the wording of objectives helps to understand and identify the types of research. Means there are various types of researches are there. And before that we proceed the types of research, we should know what are the characteristics of good research. First thing is we should be very much specific towards the problem, and research should be free of biasness. There should not be any kind of biasness when we are conducting a research, and it should be prejudices and subjective errors should not be there. And because few terms they are very commonly used in the research, so it can be summarized that yes, with the help of few things we can conduct a good research. And what are the characteristics of good research we should keep in our mind when we are conducting a research for a problem. It should be generalized, not very typical kind of things we have to take. It should be very generalized thing, and it should be very general. And yes, the problem which you are going to take, that should be in a controlled manner. Means yes, whatever you are going to discuss in your research, whatever you are going to find it out, it should be in a controlled way. Means the things should not be uncontrollable, and it should be a rigorous, and it should be empirical, systematic, reliability, validity, employs hypothesis, analytical, and accuracy, credibility, critical. These are the few steps because of time constraints, we cannot discuss in details, but yes, these things we have to keep in our mind so that we can give a good research. Means it should be generalized, it should be controlled and rigorous, should be empirical and systematic, and it should be reliability. Yes, reliability is the factor that is very important. Validity and employees hypothesis. Hypothesis is also important because that is the important element of the research, and analytical analysis and credibility and the critical evaluation, that is important. And what are the criteria that should be for a good research? Because when we are conducting the research, first thing, purpose should be clearly defined. Why I'm going to conduct a research? The purpose is what? Because I just want to find out something new. So research is what? Research is a process to discover a new knowledge, to find answers to a question. So purpose should be clearly defined, and common concepts should be used that can be understood by all, because we should not make it complicated. It should be common concepts and it should be very clear to everyone. Procedures, whatever we are going to follow, that should be explained in detail. It should be clear. And research design should be carefully planned, because research design is again going to play an important role in the research, because research design, whatever you are designing for your research, that is accordingly you will plan and accordingly you will elaborate the things in the research. So that research design is another important element of the research. And researcher should declare all the possible errors and their possible impact on findings, because in that way the research will be very clear and it should be error-free. And the methods of analysis should be appropriate. Means what methods you are going to use for the analysis of your data, because the number of data is going to define which kind of methods you are going to use. It depends on the number of data you have collected and which tools you are going to apply for your research. So the validity and reliability of the data should be checked very carefully, and the researcher should good command over the research methodologies and should be intelligent and experienced, because somewhere you have to employ or you have to use your intelligence and smart work. And ethics in research is very important because it refers to a code of conduct or behavior while conducting the research. So ethical research nowadays in the modern concept, it is important. And ethical conduct applies to the organizations and the members, because we are going to collect the data from the various peoples. They are working in the organizations. Means somehow the data which we are collecting, that should be ethical and that should be genuine, that should be appropriate. And the respondents who are giving or providing the necessary data, they should be also give their ethical views, and they should be follow the code of conduct while responding for the research. And after that, we can come to the point. There are various types of research, because many types of research is there, but basically we will discuss here the main research types, that is 4 kinds of research, because the research is based on the 3 things. Because first, here you can see on the screen, that is the basic research, applied research, qualitative and quantitative research. But if we are talking about the types of research, we can say that, yes, we can move to the next slide. Types of research, because there are the various points of views are there. On the basis of that, we can see that various types of research. Research is based on the application. The research which is based on the application, that is 2 types. That is the pure research and applied research. And next is the next point of view is that is the objectives-based research. That is the descriptive, correlation, explanatory, and exploratory research. That is the objectives view of point. And another third type of research is that is the information sort. The viewpoint is that is the informations related to, and that is again two types. That is the quantitative research and qualitative research. And we can proceed that. Before that, we proceed the types of research in detail we discuss. We should know the two important things, the validity and variables, because again and again, you're going to use these two words, validity and variables. Variables are playing an important role when you are conducting a research. In fact, you can say that a good research, and if you want a good result, so that variables has to be observed very keenly and very important, right? So validity is what? Actually, it means that the correct procedure have been applied to find the answers to a question. And because it is important, validity is showing actually the correct procedure, and it is procedures which you have applied to find the answers to a question. If for example, you can say that if a large plot of land has to be measured, result should be one. Either it should be measured in a meter or centimeters or in kilometers, means either in any way, the result should be one. So validity is actually indicating the correct procedures have been applied to find the answers to a question. So validity is important, and the variable is also important. And what is the variable? Variable would be an image, perception, or concept that can be measured. So hence, capable of taking on a different values is called a variable. Variable is also defined as anything that has a quantity or quality that varies. For example, you can see that age is kind. It could be a variable, and time is also could be a variable. So it is important while you are going to conduct a research. And yes, now come to the types of research. First is the basic research. First type is the basic research. Here we can see that basic research is that is explaining. It is a pure research, you can say. Another name of the basic research is pure research. It involves developing and testing the theories and hypotheses that are intellectually challenging to the researchers, but may or may not have a practical applications at the present time or in the future, you can say. So it is more focused on creating scientific knowledge and predictions for further studies. And it involves developing and testing the theories and hypotheses. So the knowledge produced through this pure research is sought in order to add to the existing body of research method. So pure research is a theoretical, but has a universal nature. This is theoretical, but has a universal nature, and it is more focused on creating scientific knowledge. Second one is the applied research. Basic research is generally the basic and pure, and you can proceed in a very simple way because it is a theoretical and totally theoretical. And applied research is done on the basis of pure or fundamental research to solve a specific practical questions for policy formulations, administrations, and understanding of a phenomena. And it can be exploratory in nature, but is usually a descriptive. The purpose of doing such research is to find the solutions to an immediate issues, solving a particular problem. Immediate issues means all of a sudden any problem has been arises, so that it is important to apply for the applied research, because this is going to apply. The purpose of doing the applied research is to find the solutions for an immediate issues. What is the current issues? Immediate issues. Solving a particular problem, developing the new technologies, and look into the future advancement. And it involves the forecasting and assumes that the variable shall not change. And you can say that, you can find it out. Basic difference between the basic and applied research. Basic research can be explained as research that tries to expand the already existing scientific knowledge base, right? On the contrary, you can say that applied research is used to mean the scientific study that is helpful in solving the real life problems. This is the basic difference between the basic and applied research. While basic research is purely theoretical, applied research has a practical approach. The applicability of basic research is greater than the applied research, in the sense that the former is universally applicable, whereas the latter can be applied only on the specific problem for which it was carried out. So the primary concern of the basic research is to develop scientific knowledge and the predictions. On the other hand, you can say that applied research stresses on the development of technology and techniques with the help of basic science. And the fundamental goal of the basic research is to add some knowledge to the already existing one. And conversely, applied research is directed towards the finding a solution to the problem under the consideration. Yes. And now come to the exploratory research. That is the third one and important. Exploratory research, it helps to determine the best research design, data collection method, and selection of subjects, because exploration has been the humankind's passion since the time immemorial, right? So looking out for the new things, new destinations, new food, new cultures has been the basis of most tourist and travel journeys. You can say that, for examples, you can say that if someone is going to start a new business in food, so means that person has to explore. Okay, yes, they has to find it out. Okay, whether what is the taste of the locality, what is how do they are going to respond. So explore it means explore something new. Like, for example, as I told, the fast food outlet owners feels that increasing the variety of snacks. So what they will do, how do they can increase the sales? So it is not sure and needs more information. They need more information. How do they can increase that? How do they can increase the sales of that outlet? So owner can start studying the local competitions, talks to the existing customers, friends, and they will find it out the many ways. And they will conduct a kind of research so that finally they will go for the conclusion. But there is a exploration. They will explore something new, right? So what are their views about the current menu and what else do they wish to be included in the menu, and also assess whether he would be able to generate higher the revenues or not. So all these things should be find it out, and they should work on that perspective. So exploratory research helps determine the best research design, data collection method, and selection of subjects. Because in such a kind of research, a researcher starts with a general idea. In the exploratory research, the researcher starts with a general idea and uses this research as a medium to identify the issues that can be the hub for future research. Many research can be conducted on this particular and specific topic. So exploratory research is conducted to find a solution for a problem that has not been studied more clearly. If, for example, as I given, the fast food outlet owner feels that increasing the variety of snacks, but is not sure that how could he will increase the sales of that particular outlet. So he has to think about it. What the best he can do. He should plan accordingly. He should conduct a research. He should identify the local competition. He should talk to the customers, should talk to the friends, should talk to the peoples, should collect the data, and should change the current menu so that they can increase. So there are various ways. So exploratory research is only indicating that you explore something new. And this is going to be conduct when you are trying to add on something new. Exploratory research is conducted to find a solution for a problem that has not been studied more clearly and precisely. That's why it has been mentioned. Whatever the problem you have identified, that should be more precise and clear. What are the categories of the exploratory research? It should be based on the experience, expert surveys, secondary data analysis, case study analysis, pilot studies, literature review, depth interviews, focus groups, moderator guidebooks, lists, benchmarking, open-ended questions. These are the things you can use for the exploratory research. As I told you, like for the fast food corner, how the owner should go for the research. So he can go for the experience of the past peoples, those who are the already customer of that fast food center, and he can go for the secondary data analysis, can go for the pilot study, can go for the other things also. And the another type of research is the explanatory research. Explanatory research itself is saying that causal or explanatory research. It is another name is the causal research also. And it is conducted to understand the impact of specific changes in the existing standard procedure. For example, here I have been mentioned that a study that is conducted to understand the effect of rebranding on the customer loyalty is the research whose primary purpose is to explain why events occur, why to build, elaborate, extend, or test a theory. So the thing is, it is more concerned with showcasing, explaining, and presenting what we already have. Brand is existing, but we should know how could it would be a more effective, or how could we can assess the customer loyalty. So it is important. And you can say it is the research. Explanatory is the research whose primary purpose is to explain why events occur, to build, elaborate, extend, or test a theory. All right. So explanatory research attempts to answer why and how aspects of a situation or phenomena. If it's happening, then why it's happening. If the brand is not liked by the customer, then why? What is the reason? For example, you can say that why and how stress leads to a heart disease. Means there is a question, why and how the stress leads to heart disease. So explanatory, it needs the explanation why and how stress could lead to heart disease. Means in simple way, it is a simple stress, but you have to prove, you have to conduct a research why and how. That is the explanatory research. The next important type of research, that is the descriptive research. Its name itself indicating that. The descriptive research, and because descriptive means in detail, whatever you are going to discuss, whatever you are going to define, that is in detail, that is showing the descriptive research. This attempts to explain a situation, problem, phenomena, service, or program, or provides the information. For example, life conditions of a community, or describes the attitudes towards an issue. But this is done systematically, because you must have observed that, yes, whenever we are talking about the research, we are more focused towards the systematic word. Means everything should move systematically. It is used to answer the questions of who, what, when, where, and how associated with a particular research question or particular problem. It focuses on expanding knowledge on the current issues through a process of data collection. Descriptive research describes actually the behavior of a sample population also. Only one variable is required to conduct this study for, especially in the descriptive research studies. And descriptive is going to explain or describe something that is new. So descriptive research is used to observe and describe a research subject or a problem without influencing or manipulating the variables in any way. So such studies are usually correlation or observational actually. This type of research is conclusive in nature rather than inquisitive. So it is conclusive. So it is one specific characteristics of descriptive research is it should be a conclusive in nature, and it is conclusive in nature rather than inquisitive. For example, you can say that explaining the details of budget allocation changes to departmental heads in a meeting to assure the clarity and understanding for reason to bring in a change. So descriptive research can go for the more clarification, often referred to as a survey research, is aimed at characterizing the phenomena and identifying association among selected variables. It can be used to describe the characteristics of a certain groups, estimate the proportion of people in a specified population who behave in a certain way, and make specific predictions. And few examples of descriptive studies could be the proportion of companies that have an electronic storefront, target customers' evaluation of key product attributes, measuring employee satisfaction. And now the important aspects of the research is research design. Research design is the conceptual structure within which research would be conducted. And the function of research design is to provide for the collection of relevant information with the smallest possible input in terms of effort, time, and money. And the preparation of research design appropriate for a particular research problems involves the considerations of the following. What are that? First is the objective of the research study. Yes, whatever we are going to research, that should be clear, and objectives should be clear for the research study. Second is the methods of data collection to be adopted, and source of information, sample design, and tools for data collection, and data analysis tools, qualitative, quantitative. And a good research design is characterized by its flexibility, effectiveness, and suitability. You can say that the three important words are going to reflect a good research design. When your research design is appropriate, you can conduct a smooth and systematic research for your problem. So design is characterized by its flexibility, effectiveness, and suitability. A properly developed research design is the one that results in minimal or no error at all if everything goes as planned for. That's why it is important. Research design is a very important step in research. So if it is planned, so your research will go smooth and systematic manner. And the next is the research methodology. Everyone is aware about the research methodology, but methodology is a kind of outline, you can say, of the overall data collection and analysis strategy. So research methodology is actually defining the data collection method and analysis part. So the methodology should be compatible with the preliminary data analysis plan and be designed, as we know that yes, there are two types of data, primary data and secondary data, and both the data should be collected in an appropriate way so that we can go for the smooth analysis of the primary and secondary data. And it should be designed in a way that ensures the intended scope of the research can be feasibly achieved to the required quality given the time, resources, and access available. Designing a methodology involves the three key components. What are the components? First is selecting the overall research method. Distinguish a methodology involves and selecting the appropriate data collection approach. And research methodology should be defined in a proper way. And if the research methodology has been identified, so that it will be going to help in a smooth conduction of the research. And another important element of the research is the hypothesis. Hypothesis, as we know that it is a kind of assumptions which the researcher is going to assume that and specify the relationship between at least the two variables, and they are testable. For a hypothesis to function properly, other researchers must be able to reproduce the result that prove or disprove it. Obviously, we are doing hypothesis or planning a hypothesis is to prove or disprove it. For hypothesis, it is a kind of assumptions which the researcher is going to prove. So hypothesis is used in an experiment to define the relationship between the two variables. The purpose of a hypothesis is to find the answer to a question, and it should be a formalized hypothesis, will force us to think about what result we should look for in an experiment. And the first variable is called the independent variable. This is a part of the experiment that can be changed and tested. And the independent variables happens first and can be considered the cause of any changes in the outcome. So the outcome is called the dependent variable. Another important thing which I feel here is few terminologies that should be clear. The ratio scale, because when we are conducting the research, a few terms comes in mind. What is that? A ratio scale has all the properties of nominal, ordinal, and interval scales, plus its own property. 0 point of a ratio scale is fixed, which means it has a fixed starting point. Since the difference between the intervals is always measured from a 0 point, this scale can be used for mathematical operations. And the measurement of variables like income, age, height, and weight are examples of this kind of scale. And person who is a 40-year-old is twice as old as one who is 20-year-old. So when we are going to measure the variables on the scales, we should be very careful and we should be attentive. Now come to the process of research, and the process is initiated with a question or problem, as we all know that, and goals and objectives are formulated to deal with the question or a problem, and the research design is developed to achieve the objectives, and the results are generated by conducting the research. There is a data collection, there is a data analysis, interpretation, result analysis is followed, and understanding of the research process is necessary to effectively carry out the research and sequencing of the stages inherent in the process. Because there are 8 stages in the research process. They are actually identifying the problem, reviewing the literature, setting the research questions, objectives, and hypotheses, choosing the study design, and deciding on the sample design. And you can see that the steps of research process. What is that? Selection of a topic. That is the important element, because first, when you are going to choose a topic, that should be very specific and very much clear. The second step is defining the research problem and objective. What is the objective of research? Next step is the review of literature, and then working hypothesis, then preparing a research design, then sample design, what sample you have taken, and the data collection, what are the ways you are going to collect the data. Either your data is the primary data or it is a secondary data, and then execution of the project, and the data analysis and hypothesis testing. Many various tools are available, SPSS, R, various kinds of tools are available to conduct the data analysis and prove your research in a systematic and smooth manner. And then there is a generalization and interpretation, and then finally report comes and the conclusion comes. In that you can define the findings. There might be some gap and there might be some other problems, so you can explain in that report and you will get the conclusion, you can define it. And earlier we have discussed about, to just try to understand, there is a difference between the quantitative and qualitative research. So we have discussed, and we all know that what is the quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative is something reflecting the numbers, and qualitative is something reflecting the characteristics. And we should understand the basic difference. Type of data collection in quantitative is structured and close-ended data collection tools, and qualitative, it is semi-structured, but cannot say that it is not structured, right? And data collection tools. And what kind of analysis in quantitative? Because measuring prevalences and quantifying issues and primary involves the deductive analysis. And in case of qualitative, can go for the exploratory and primarily involves the inductive analysis. And the type of sampling strategy you are going to adapt in quantitative and qualitative is in quantitative can use both probability or non-probability sampling, and in qualitative is non-probability sampling. The generalization to the wider population not possible. And in case of quantitative can use both probability or non-probability sampling, generalization to the wider population possible, right? Yes, now come to the another important aspects because of time constraint. The topic is we have to understand very much clearly and very, very clearly, you can say, the literature review. When the researcher is going to conduct a specific research for any specific problem, so literature review is playing a great role. First of all, the basic things, research process, design, methodology, everything has been finalized. And after that, the second important element you can say that is the literature review or review of literature. But there is a difference. I would like to tell you what is the difference between the literature review and review of literature. So you can see these words which I have written here, that is see, view, observe, visualize, gaze, look, watch, cognize, peep, notice. You can see that these words are the mixture of few words means your eyes, means you can see, right? And few words, they are related with brain. Plus the another words, they are related with the society. Right, when we are conducting the literature review, we can't ignore these things and these words. They are reflecting the eyes, brain, and society. Eyes should be open, brain should be used, and society should be considered while you are going to conduct a research. So it is going to say that, yes, there is a recognition, there is a review, and there is a research. Eyes, that is recognizing. Via brain, we are having a review, and society, we are going to conduct a research. You can say that, yes, in literature review, these words are playing important role, and eyes, brain, and society we can't ignore. And we have to keep in mind, yes, recognition is the first step, and second is the review, and third one is the research. How to write a review of literature? First of all, I should clarify literature review and review of literature. There is a difference, right? Literature review is all kind of literature, infinite possibilities. It is not limited to its characteristics. You can say that literature review means n numbers of literature reviews, any kind of literature. There is no limit, means any literature, any simple paragraphs could be other literature. Means literature, they don't have any kind of limit. It is not limited. So all kind of literature that is infinite, right? And possibilities are not very much limited to its characteristics. But opposite, review of literature is very much focused, and particular context literature is related with particular specific what we are doing in research. So we should go for the review of literature, and because we are our research is focused, so that we should go for the review of literature. You can see that some people, they are writing a literature review, somebody is writing the review of literature, but as per me, there is a difference between the literature review and review of literature. So review of literature is very much focused and particular context. Literature is related with the particular and specific. So what is the literature review? We should understand. Literature review is the effective evaluation of selected documents on a research topic. When you are conducting a research, it is indicating that, okay, yes, there must be some authors are saying this, and that. But yes, that is very much specific and to the point. And that is indicating in 2009, in 2015, in 2012. And we should consider always the current literature review. Whatever the study we are going to conduct, whatever the study we are going to done, that should be in a systematic and should be current. Not it should be very obsolete, and it should not be very old, because literature review, on the basis of literature review, we are going to conduct a new research and we are going to give some conclusion. So it should be a latest, you can say that. Latest means year-wise, it should be current. So literature review is the effective evaluation of a selected documents on a research topic. And a review may form an essential part of the research process or may constitute a research project in itself. And in the context of a research paper or thesis, the literature review is a critical synthesis of previous research. Actually, this is the definition of the literature review, because you can see that whatever the research paper we can see we have taken, and for the further evaluation, so you can check and you can assess it. Okay, research paper or thesis, the literature review is a critical synthesis of a previous research. What the research has been already done. On the basis of that, the researcher is going to conduct a new research or going to adapt the new solution, right? So the evaluation of the literature leads logically to the research question. And the very important thing is, when we are writing a literature review, so how could you say that it is a good literature review and it is a poor literature review? Literature review we are writing, and everyone, it is the important part of any research paper and thesis. So here we can discuss, and you can see in the slides, a good literature review and poor literature review. I'll tell you, okay, what you should not do while you are writing a effective literature review. Good literature review is a synthesis of available research. As I told you, okay, whatever the research has been done in the past, we are taking that in view. So it is a synthesis of available research. And it is a critical evaluation, means whatever the research has been done, we are going to evaluate it critically. So it is important. Okay, yes, it should be a synthesis of available research, and it is a critical evaluation and it has the appropriate breadth and depth, and it should be there should be a clarity and there should be a conciseness. And in the literature review, should use the rigorous and consistent methods. There should not be a gap. You can say that you must have heard about that. What is the research gap in between? So that you should analyze how much gap is there. You should fulfill, means what new you can do, what you can add on, value add on. And poor literature review is what? It is annotated bibliography, confined to description, narrow and shallow, confusing and long winded. There is no use to create confusion unnecessary, because literature review is very much specific, because someone is saying, okay, yes, in this year, this happened. So that's why it should be very much specified and very specific, should not create any kind of confusion, and unnecessary, it should not be long-winded and constructed in an arbitrary way. Means sometimes it happens that in the literature review, few papers, 2009 is coming after 2013, and 2008 is coming after 2004. And it means this is what it should be in a systematic way. Means you should take the years early, and means it should be in a sequence, so that you can conduct your research in a proper and systematic way, and you can analyze what you have to do in your research. So good literature review is only a synthesis. In general terms, the research literature review is a synthesis of available research, right? And it is another aspect, it is a critical evaluation. We are going to evaluate it in a critical way, and it should be clear and concise, and it should be rigorous and consistent method. Always you should use the rigorous and consistent method, not in an arbitrary way, wherever you want and you will keep it there. No, it should be in a rigorous and consistent methods you should use. What is not to be done while you are conducting a research, and while when you are focusing on a literature review? Because so you should not do the few things, because literature review is not a description of your whole research, because it is a kind of analysis, and it is a kind of research which has been already done, and you have to evaluate it more fruitfully in the future, right? And you should not think that there is no scope of opinion, because in literature review, our assumptions are not going to work. What it has been mentioned and written, that is going to work. So we cannot say that I think that this, I cannot say I believe that, right? Whatever the things has been mentioned, we are considering in literature review, that is already, it has been done. We cannot say that I think, it's my opinion, if I like it, then I'll do it, otherwise no, that is fixed, that has been already done. So there is no chance of opinion. My opinion is not going to matter. Whatever it was, it is done. All right. So there is no view, or there is no space for I believe, I think, and it might be. No, that is fixed. That has been already done. We should evaluate it critically in a proper manner. So that is the proper literature review. And should not be. Literature review is not a bibliography. It is not a references. So a list of books with short commentary, it is not like that. It should not be like that. It is a list of books with short commentary on each to be annotated in bibliography. Right? We are putting in a bibliography. It should not be like that. It is not a list of books. It is a literature review which we are going to review. It's self-indicating. We are going to review it. So effective literature review is, again, we are going to consider where to look for organizations and keeping track of important literature. Am I done? Timing, too long versus too short. It's an ongoing and continuous process. But the important thing in literature review is where to look for, from where we have to take, right? Nowadays, in the current scenario, you can see many platforms are available from where you can collect, you can get the appropriate and good literature review. There are various search engines, Google or other usual search engines. And how about the specialized and domain-dependent search engines are also there. Google Scholar, Web of Knowledge, CiteSeed, digital libraries like ACM Digital, IEEE, Explore, Journal, and conferences websites. But before that, we proceed others. Then why it's needed? Why literature review needed in research? Because the literature review is providing a background information. Because what we are going to conduct in our research, you can say that it is a kind of things. Literature review is clarifying that. कि what you are going to conduct in your research, what you are going to put new, what you are going to have a new in something, that kind of research. What is your contribution? So it provides a background information, it provides a context, in which context you are going to elaborate your research, and it identify the focus of research. Yes, you are focused. Suppose, for example, my research topic is related with the culture, but culture is vast. Culture is vast. We cannot say that it is Eastern culture, Western culture, or some other international culture. So many types of cultures. So that's why we should be much more focused and precise towards which kind of culture we are going to define. So in literature review, it should be clear. Yes, if we are going to define the culture with a specific model, so that it should be clear in the literature review. So identify the focus of the research, introduce the topic to readers, address the trend, what is the current and latest trend when you are going to conduct the research. It provides a framework of method, and analyze the published, whatever it has been published, it has going to be analyzed. You can say that literature review as a process. So in brief, we can say that a literature review, it is a synthesis of studies on any given topic. It is a synthesis of studies on any given topic or a specific topic. Usually proceeds a full-length original study as a way of introducing the general topic. Its purpose is to help the reader understand the background of your study and see how it's the next logical study to be conducted in this domain. So that's why the literature review, you can say, it is a kind of process through which every researcher has to proceed. And necessarily a good literature review requires a thoroughly researched topic. And because do not attempt to write a literature review overnight, because it's a process. You take your own time, and it should not be like a copy paste. It should not be like a yes, this, and you have selected from one platform, and you will go and you will proceed for the research. No, it should move in a systematic way, and it cannot be written in a single day. And it is a process, so it will take time. So please never attempt to write a literature review overnight, because this process could take weeks, months. And purpose is to provide the information, to establish the importance of the research, to demonstrate the familiarity, and carve out a space for the further research. And you cannot avoid that. Yes, literature review is a critical look at the existing research that is significant to the work that you are carrying out. And why should write a literature review? Because it demonstrates to your readers that you have a good understanding of the topic you are discussing. Obviously, whenever you are writing a good literature review, there is no need to go for another second thoughts. It is clearly defined and it is clearly understood, the topic of your discussion. So it demonstrates to your reader that you have a good understanding of the topic you are discussing. And it demonstrates that you know how to critically evaluate others' academic work. And it also demonstrates that you understand how your work relates to other academic research. And when was the work written, and is that relevant? Yes. And who wrote it, and is that relevant? Everything should be observed very keenly. What are their sources? Is their conclusion justified? Is it supported by the evidence? What are the flaws in their work? What are the positivities? Does the author support a certain theory? As I told, suppose, for example, there is a culture. Whether culture is supported by any theory or not, method or schools of thoughts, right? So how does the work fit in with other literature? Few things, or you can say that characteristics, as we discussed many things about the literature review, what it should be. So few important characteristics, you can say that outlining the important research trends, assessing the strength and weakness of the existing research, identifying the potential gaps in knowledge, establishing a need for current and or future research projects. And before that, there is the pre-writing stages also, because we understand and we identify the problem of the research. So first thing is formulate and clarify the problem or primary research question. Which topic or field is being examined and what are its component issues? So it will be easy to select the literature review and then choose the literature, find materials relevant to the subject being explored and determine which literature makes a significant contribution to the understanding of the topic. And then analyze and interpret. Note the findings and conclusions of pertinent literatures, how each contributes to your field. What should be the body of the literature review? Use subheadings if dividing the literature review topically, thematically, according to the argumentative perspectives or according to time period. Be sure to show relationship between the sources. That is important, because whatever the literature reviews you haven't selected, there should be a relationship in between. There should be a continuation. There should be a good relationship, so that it will be easy for the researcher. And discuss sources, significant contributors. Do not develop ideas or use sources that are irrelevant to your thesis overall, right? So do not develop ideas, your own ideas. You can think, but literature review is fixed that you have to take from the books, journals. You can consider anything, Google search, anything you can consider. While you are taking the literature review, you can search from the books, you can search from the journals, and references to prior studies should be in past tense. That is important. Yes, whatever the references you are taking, that should be in the past tense, because that they are the references we have taken. And references to narrative or text other than studies should be in the present tense while you are writing the literature review. So you should be very much attentive while writing the literature review. Because for example, here I have mentioned, you can see on the screen, Smith's study of composition students included both male and female subjects, and she concludes that that is in present and included that is in past. The past has been done and present we are conducting or doing. So she concludes that gender plays no significant role in the writing process. And she also suggests that further studies should look at age as contributing factor, a variable her study did not consider. So past and present things should be very much clearly defined. Whatever the research has been done should be in the past, and the research we are going to conduct, that has to be in the present, right? Steps for writing a literature review, how we will write it. So first, that is important, is planning. Second is reading and research, analyzing, drafting, and revising. Planning, focused, to be very focused. What is the specific thesis, problem, research question that may literature review helps to define. Identifying a focus that allow you to sort and categorize the information, right? And eliminate the irrelevant information. No need of that. Be specific, be precise. And type. What type of literature review am I conducting? Theory, methodology, policy, whether it is quantitative, whether it is a qualitative. And what is the reflection? Take a moment to answer each of the questions in the planning section of your packet about the literature review. How many of questions could you answer? What questions did this short exercise raise for you? And reading and researching, collect and read the material, because it should not be like that. You have just read it and just put it. No. First read and then research, whether it is applicable, whether it is going to have a relevance with that particular topic or not. To collect and read the material, summarize the sources and who is the author author is very important because that is relevant for your research or not. What is the author's main purpose? What is the author's theoretical perspective? What research methodology adapted? Who is intended audience? What is the principal point, conclusion, thesis, contention, or question? Each and everything should be read very carefully. And what does this study add to your project? Select only relevant books and articles. And analyzing sources, literature reviews, and never just a list of studies. It always offers an argument about a body of research, because it is not like that, whatever it has been said, then it is fixed. No, it is a kind of process. There is always chance of an argument in the body of research. Analysis occurs on two levels, individual or body of research. Individual sources means individual writers, they are focusing, and body of research, that is fixed. And you can see that, yes, whatever we have discussed, that was an effective literature review, because in effective literature review places each work in the context of its contribution to the understanding of the subject under review, describes the relationship of each work to the others' consideration, identify the new ways to interpret and shed light on any gaps. As I told you earlier, yes, if there is any gap, so you should always shed light on any gaps, because in the previous research, that should be fulfilled. The gap should be fulfilled. So resolves conflicts amongst the contradictory previous studies, whatever it was, and the work should be in a proper way. So literature included can be any format appropriate to your topic. Don't restrict yourself to journal articles. You can look into books. You all need to know and cite the work of major contributors to the field. A lot of this in books, especially annual reviews. And important information can be found in reports, conference proceedings, and other non-journal sources also. Search government websites and associations related to your topic, because that is going to help a lot. And look at library subject guides in your area to find the key databases, additional resources, and how to write. In a simple way, we have to write. There is no specific things and complications. Process of review development: formulate a problem, search, refine the topic, analyze, and construct the review. And research tips, reference work, and endnotes. This is how to write a literature review. Because sometimes it comes in mind. So what do we already know in the immediate area concerned? If I am a new in the field, so that it might be concerned. So what comes in mind? What do we already know? Right? And what are the characteristics of the key concepts or the main factors or the variables? What are the relationship between these key concepts, factors, or variables? What are the existing theories? What are the non-consciousness and other shortcomings in our knowledge and understanding? What views need to be tested? So a few questions come while we are going to review. And what contributions can we present study be expected to make? What research designs or methods seems unsatisfactory, satisfactory? What we should use? There are 4 analysis tasks of the literature review. It is simple, what we have discussed earlier. Task is something, first, it should be summarized, it should be synthesized, and then criticize, and then compare, and then come to the final conclusion. How to collect the data for the literature review? So it's a simple process, you can say that. Read widely. When you read for your literature review, you are actually doing 2 things at the same time. Trying to define your research problem, trying to finding a gap, asking a question, continuous previous research, and counterclaiming. So trying to read every source relevant to your research problem, it is usually impossible to do the latter. So you will need to identify the most relevant and significant works and focus on them. As you define your problem, you will more easily be able to decide what to read and what to ignore. And before you define your problem, hundreds of sources will seem relevant, but you have to select. You have to choose which one is the best. However, you cannot define your problem until you read around your research area. This seems a vicious circle, but what should happen is that as you read, you define your problem, and as you define your problem, you will more easily be able to decide what to read and what to ignore. So how do you will organize in a very similar manner, or in a very short, you can see on the slides. First is introduction to the literature review. Content, what is covered, structure, how it is organized, boundaries, what is outside of its scope. If you should always collect the matter or data that is applicable in the current scenario. Body of the literature review. First section, the most important topic or a key concept discussed and evaluated. First, it should be discussed and then evaluated, summarized and related to your research project. Section 2 is showing that key next important topic or a key concept discussed and evaluated, because it is a step-by-step process. Then after the discussion, after the summarization, you will follow the same pattern. And conclusion is what? From each of the sections summarizes, highlights the most relevant points, relate these back to the need for research, reiterate what this means for the research design. Always save your references, because references are going to work and they are going to give you a good response. Keep a record of the literature you have collected and record where and when you retrieve the information. It is essential and it is important. Use a citation manager program like ReferenceWorks or EndNote. Better to record too many references than have to return a few weeks or months, hence, and spend hours trying to relocate documents. And you can continue with the Google Scholar. These are the few sources from where you can collect, CiteSeed, Mendeley, Web of Knowledge, and this last I've shown or given one example, how do you are going to write and how you should write. And any question? I think because of constraint of time. Yes, ma'am. Any question?
No, ma'am.
No question?
No, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this very informative session.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, all the participants, for your active participation. Let me inform to all that this complete session will be available on our Research Circle YouTube channel. So if you can want to watch it again or want to share it to somebody, please do visit the Research Circle YouTube channel. Thanks. And last but not least, thank you, Dr. Seema Singh ma'am, for taking out the time for session. With your permission, I would like to end today's session here. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.